welcome back to my channel, PumpkinBecki. In today's video we're going to be looking at some genuinely strange plants that I'm growing. Forget about my carnivorous plants, forget about my succulents. This is just plain weird. Let's get started. The reason for this video is that it combines two of my favourite things, animals and plants. We are shortly going to be adding somebody to our animal family. It's something I've never kept before. Very excited about it. My dad used to have one when he was young. Rumour is that it's still out there alive somewhere. That may give you a clue as to what it is. It needs very particular care. It's taken an awful lot of research to get me to the point where I'm confident-ish that it will be okay with us, that I know enough about this creature that I will be able to look after it in the best way possible. So what is it? It's a tortoise. So our tortoise is going to be pretty tiny, about that big at the moment. So it's far too small to be wandering around outside on its own without protection or supervision. Normally it would quite happily wander around eating grass, all sorts of weeds, some plants, but right now it's too small for that, so we're going to be keeping it indoors with the proper lighting and heating, and it's going to be in a tortoise table, which we are making at the moment, and there's going to be another video about that, all about how we're going to set it up and how we built it. So to make it nice and natural in there, we are growing some plants that our little tortoise can eat quite happily all day long and live as natural life as possible, but indoors. Most of my research has been done online. What I've sort of realised is that actually our understanding of tortoises and tortoise care in captivity has grown so much and is changing day by day. So books actually become very dated very quickly. Their information obviously is stagnant. What was said then is what will always be said by that book, whereas the internet can be updated and added to, and you can look at lots of different sources of information. Now, I have looked at a lot of YouTube channels for research, and that's fantastic. You can see how people set up their tortoise tables, what they're feeding, how they're looking after their animals, how good they look, how healthy. But you do have to be careful that if you're going to try and directly use what information these YouTubers are sharing, that you're actually looking at the right species and subspecies of tortoise to be able to transfer it to your tortoise, because there are so many different species and subspecies. They all have different needs, whether that's heat, light, substrate, food. You have to make sure you're looking at the right one. I've just got my phone out to look at my list of channels that I follow. Camp Kennan is a fantastic one. He's an American guy and he has so many different sorts of tortoises, really amazing. I also look at The Small Pet Shop. She has a Herman's tortoise, which comes under the same sort of heading as a Testudo gracia, but it's again, it's ever so slightly different, and it looks different, but its care needs are different. So I can look at what she's got and go, that's fantastic, but I need to just make sure that it would be suitable for my tortoise, my Greek spur-thighed tortoise, before I start trying to apply it. Just bear that in mind. I've also used the Tortoise Trust website a lot to get information, and that has been really helpful. I've looked at the ZoomEd website, that's been incredibly helpful for information. But for feeding, I've been looking at Tortoise Table, and they have an app. And you see, you can filter the results by category, safety and colour. If I go to, I can't navigate and talk. If I go to safety, this is just my go-to list here. So I go to safe to feed. There's also feed in moderation, feed sparingly, or do not feed. If I'm going out looking for plants, I'm just going to hit safe to feed. That's what I want to know. So I can come out of my filter. Instead of 27 pages, I now have 5 pages to look at, and everything there is absolutely safe to feed all the time. So if I click on one, there we go, that's sow thistle, and it gives you some information about it, description, and it also tells you which bit of the plants are safe to feed, whether it's just the flowers, whether it's the leaves, whether it's the stems, whether it's all 3. It gives you Latin names. Really useful, really useful. So if you're wandering around the garden centre going, oh, I wonder if I could feed that, you can quickly look, and I think you can actually look at it offline as well, which is super helpful, and just be absolutely sure that what you're buying is fine. I used it when I was looking around the garden centre the other day for some houseplants to add in. I picked up a prayer palm and also a Boston fern, both of which are completely safe to feed, and they're just going to live in the tortoise table fairly permanently. So there's a couple of other plants I can sort of permanently add to the enclosure without any worry. One of those is the much maligned spider plant. Not desperately exciting horticulturally speaking. I've never been that keen to grow one, but this can live permanently in the enclosure, and my little tortoise will be able to come along and just nibble away at the leaves as it wants to. So that's fun. This I got free from work. I managed to sort of take off a little cutting from one, and it literally was a cutting, it had no roots, and I potted it up about a week ago and it's got roots already. I actually found it quite hard to come across a spider plant in a garden centre. I guess they don't think very much of them horticulturally either. So yeah, if you've got a friend who's got one, just go and take one of the little offshoots off, stick it in a pot. Fantastic. I also bought this rather lovely Hoerthia. This is something again that tortoises can eat quite happily. I can leave this in the enclosure, or I can just peel off a leaf and feed it as I want to. Now this actually came as a plant, I think it was about £7-ish, but it was absolutely round, solid, and I've managed to divide that one planter up into 5 different pots of this sort of density, which means that what I could do is sink this into the planter, tortoise table, sink this into the tortoise table, into the substrate, and he can come along and eat what he wants to. And if it starts to look a bit too haggard, I can whip it out and swap it for a new one, let this one recover, and I can sort of keep them on rotation. I thought that was genius. Tortoises can also eat pansies and violets. Now I can't feed these particular pansies because I have been using a feed on them, a slow release feed. So that will be within the leaves and within the flowers and the stems. There is also remains of it on the soil. So he can't eat this particular one, but I could grow him ones specially that will be his, and they will be non-fertilised. Here's another concept. This is going to be mixed grazing, and you see it's in a seed tray, and the idea is again that I could sink this into the substrate of the tortoise table, and my little friend can just come along and eat whatever he or she likes. And when it gets a bit too haggard, I can lift the whole thing out and swap it for a different one. This particular one contains dog violets, which I've gathered from the woodland garden at the front. I've got loads and loads and loads of dog violets. I've got some tiny geranium there, which I'm going to grow on. There's a couple of those. And look at this, couch grass. A gardener's bestest ever friend. Not. I had some of that in the woodland bed, and I thought, yeah, I can donate that to my tortoise. Fantastic. I've also sown, see, I've got a plant label in there, I've also sown some harebells and, wait for it, dandelions. Who in their right mind sows dandelions? Well, yeah, clearly I do. So hopefully they'll be germinating soon, and that gives my tortoise a really nice varied diet all in one very small tray. I'm growing some other bits and bobs for my tortoise, some hollyhocks and some red valerian. Now I can't actually sow those into trays like the other tray because they get too tall. So what I'll do is once they start to sprout, I will pot them up and then eventually move them out into the garden. Hollyhocks particularly like it in the garden, they self-seed, they're all around, and the variety that I bought, which is a halo mix, will hybridise really beautifully with the ones I already have in the garden, which are from a friend called Hazel. Some other things I'm growing are some purple zinnia, this is Purple Prince, Pansy Amsterdam Giant, so these are going to be the unfed ones, particularly grown for my tortoise. And I also have some coleus, which are a lovely foliage plant. This is called Wizard Jade. It is variegated green and creamy white in the centres. I'm excited about that. I hope they germinate. The zinnias are doing okay. Come on! I'm very impatient with seeds. This tray has got catgrass, which are the really tiny fine sprouts you can just about see. Yeah, just about see. Some hedge woundwort, let's try that again. Some hedge woundwort, which is a wildflower, and also some marigolds. And I think the hedge woundwort, I can't say it, hedge woundwort hasn't started sprouting yet, but the marigolds and the catgrass have. We've had some incredibly hot weather here, getting up to sort of 32, 33 degrees here in the greenhouse, and it's only April. It's been a really bizarre heat wave, and the greenhouse is either thriving or struggling. Some things I've had to move out because it's just too hot in here, other things are romping away. It's hard to keep up with it all of a sudden. This tray has got forget-me-nots, more hedge woundwort, well, I can't say it, hedge woundwort, yes, some ribwort plantain, yeah, plantain, yes, yeah, that thing you find in your grass, yeah, I'm growing that, and some more catgrass. This tray has got more couch grass, some more geranium, more pot marigolds, geranium, and some more dog violets. And here will be a whole pot full of dandelions, and that's going to be shared with the tortoise and the guinea pigs because they love them. So if you don't have a phone, you can always print off the edible plant guides from Tortoise Table. There is the edible plant collection and more edible plants from the Tortoise Table. These again are incredibly useful. I have highlighted the ones that are completely safe to eat, but again, they're colour coded. These are ones that can be fed occasionally. There's clover. What else? I don't think it's got any of the unsafe to eat. What have we got there? We've got fuchsia can be fed occasionally. Again, don't feed ones that have been artificially fed. Forget-me-nots, fine. These are really useful, so I've got both. I've got the app and I've got this. Something I can sow a bit later, into late summer into autumn, is evening primrose, and they will grow really tall, so I can grow those in a seed tray again and plant them out. That's probably the easiest thing to do. I've also got something called Lady's Purse, which I will have to sow later in the season. Do keep your eyes peeled for upcoming tortoise videos. There will be lots, and I will start a new playlist just specifically for those as well. Please remember to rate, share and subscribe to me here on YouTube. I really do appreciate every single one of you subscribing and liking and sharing and commenting. It's wonderful. I'm so close to getting 100 subscribers now, and I know that sounds like a really silly small number, but it's really important to me. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. And you can also hit the bell icon to make sure you get notifications when I upload videos. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Until next time. Bye!